My aunt has been sending Christmas newsletters insulting my family for 12 years, so this December I finally sent one of my own. My Aunt Janet has sent Christmas newsletters every year for as long as I can remember. Cheerful updates about her life with her husband Richard and their kids Mia and Daniel, and they always arrived on December 1st like clockwork. When I was younger, they were harmless recaps of vacations and recipes, but when I turned 16, something shifted. Suddenly, every paragraph had subtle digs buried in the cheerful fonts and photo collages, especially aimed at my parents and me. She would write things like, "We're so proud of Daniel for getting into law school," unlike some young people who are still figuring things out right after I had taken a gap year. My mom always said I was reading too much into it, and my dad said that was just how his sister was. Every year I complained, and every year they dismissed me, so I learned to just read them alone and keep my mouth shut. The digs got bolder as the years went on. When I got married, her newsletter mentioned my husband's modest job at a nonprofit. When we bought our first house, she described her own home renovation in loving detail and added, "Not everyone needs a big house to be happy." When I had my daughter, she wrote about how her grandchildren were in gifted programs and how important early enrichment really is. Then last December's newsletter arrived and everything changed. My daughter has been struggling with reading, and we recently got her diagnosed with dyslexia, which has been emotional for our whole family, but she's getting help and making real progress. My aunt's newsletter included a paragraph about how early literacy is so important and how her grandchildren were reading chapter books by age 5 and how some children just need more attention at home. I read it 3 times to make sure I wasn't overreacting. She had taken my daughter's diagnosis and twisted it into an insult about my parenting, and something in me finally snapped. I pulled every newsletter from the past 12 years out of my Christmas card stash and scrutinized them, making a list of every claim she had ever made. Then I started making phone calls to cousins I hadn't spoken to in years and sending casual texts with innocent questions. What I discovered was incredible, and I realized that 12 years of Christmas newsletters had been 12 years of lies. I spent 3 days writing and rewriting until every word was perfect, matched her cheerful font and photo collage format exactly, and mailed it to everyone on her distribution list on December 20th. I was in the kitchen helping my mom with the ham when I heard the front door slam open so hard it hit the wall. My aunt came storming in, waving a piece of paper and screaming, "Where is she?" She found me by the stove and shoved the newsletter in my face. "Have you lost your mind? Who do you think you are?" I didn't flinch. "I'm just keeping the family informed, same as you." She spun around to the living room where my dad, my grandma, and my dad's brother and his kids were already gathered. "Did you all see what she sent? This is a vicious attack on my family." My uncle didn't even look up from his drink. "We know, Janet. We all got one." She held up the paper and started reading in a mocking voice, like she was exposing something horrible. "We're also supportive of Daniel's career transition after his department restructuring, which as many of you know came after a formal complaint about his conduct with an intern." She looked around expecting gasps. My cousin took a sip of wine and said, "I mean, that part's true though." My aunt's face went scarlet. She kept reading, louder. "We're sending love to Mia as she navigates her new chapter as a single mom, and we hope Janet will mention her daughter's divorce in next year's newsletter since she forgot to include it in this one." My grandmother, her own mother, who is 82 with absolutely no filter, burst out laughing. "She got you there, Janet." My aunt wheeled on her. "Mom, whose side are you on?" Grandma just shrugged. "The side that's telling the truth for once." My aunt was practically shrieking as she read the next part. "Congratulations to Janet and Richard on selling the family business last spring, and we wish them peace as they downsize from a difficult financial chapter they've been very private about." She threw her hands up. "This is nobody's business." My uncle finally looked at her. "Neither was my son's C average, but you put that in the 2019 edition." His daughter raised her glass. "And my weight gain in 2020. My other cousin chimed in. "She called my apartment a cozy starter space, and I'm 34. The whole room was laughing. My aunt looked down at the paper with tears of rage in her eyes and read the final paragraph. "Finally, we encouraged Janet to revisit the basics, since 12 years of newsletters prove she never learned to write an honest sentence. Early literacy really is so important. We agree completely." She crumpled the paper and threw it at my chest. "You vindictive monster. You ruined Christmas." My dad, her own brother, finally spoke. "Get out of my house, Janet." She grabbed her purse and left without her coat, and my grandmother picked up the crumpled newsletter and said she wanted it framed. Janet didn't send a newsletter this year.